Hi guys, before I begin, just wanted to say thank you to Will. Big shout out to him for, reaching out and being interested in what I have to say and sort of my journey to becoming a professional footballer. I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I think what he's doing is amazing with his channel, bringing together so many different people within the football world, football community in North America. And I think it's for a great cause. So definitely like and subscribe, and thanks again, Will. Alright guys, now for my journey to becoming a pro. It all started in Calgary, Alberta, where I was born and raised. From as young as I can remember, I've always been a big football fan. My family's always embraced it. Big football family. We're big Liverpool fans, so we'd always wake up on the weekends, watch as much football as we could. And yeah, my dad's a big football fan, so just growing up, he would always take me to the field. We'd always kick around, just always teaching me as much as I could about the game. And from there, I fell in love with it. I've been playing properly in a team, I think, since 3 or 4 years old. The first proper club organization I played for was Deerfoot, before eventually going over to Southwest United. And then finally, the last club I played for before transitioning over to Europe was Foothills. Growing up, I just sort of played it for fun. I always had the dream of, going on to do it at a professional level. But especially at that time, I think, growing up in Canada, you felt that it was really a far-fetched dream. You didn't really have a pathway. There was no pathway to visualize in order to sort of get to that destination. So for me, it was more, continue to strive to be the best I could be, train hard, enjoy it. But there was no real end game at the time. And then the way the opportunity to Europe came about was my dad he coached so as I was younger, he coached me. Growing up, I then had some different coaches, but he actually coached an older team with Foothills, and they had gone to England for a tournament in 2009, and my family had gone along for the journey. But while I was playing in Calgary, my dad, when he did coach my teams, he would get my mom to record the games from the sideline. And he would sort of use it as a tool to sort of analyze the games, see what our teams need to improve on, so then he could look back at the videos and use it for his benefit in training. If he wanted to, try to implement something in practice that maybe we weren't doing so well in the games, he would sort of look back at the videotapes and go that route to sort of improve the team and help us be the best we could be. So eventually he realized that while watching the clips that there was a lot of individual clips for me, and he sort of put them together and turned it into, as well as having the team stuff, he also made a highlight tape for me, which we eventually put together. And while my dad was coaching that team in England, he had met up with his cousin that he hadn't seen in like over 20 years. And his cousin ended up saying, there's a guy in the music business I know, I used to work with him, but he's now into the football industry, and I think he'd like to see the video. So we didn't think much of it. My dad said no problem. He took the video away, spoke to him, and shortly when we were about to go back to Calgary after the tournament had ended, we got a call from the agent, and he said, I've seen the video, I'm interested in what I've seen, and I think I could bring him into some clubs in London that would be interested in signing him or giving him an opportunity to at least see what he can do. So we kind of slept on it, went back. I believe I was in grade 6 at the time, sort of slept on it. And the timing was actually perfect. My dad was in the middle of a transitioning period where he had been laid off from his job. And the opportunity presented itself for us to maybe be able to, or afford the time to go over and actually complete these trials. So my dad had spoken to a friend of his actually within Calgary and explained the whole situation, and he said, you guys would be crazy to not take up this opportunity. So my dad sort of went along with it. We spoke as a family, decided that, if anything, I'll go there and it'll be a great learning experience. We went, and after a few training sessions, the head scout or recruiter at Fulham took us aside and said, this is one of the best first trials we've seen, and I think if you guys are willing to come back, we'd definitely be interested in offering him something. We still had the Fulham trial, or the West Ham trial, sorry, to go, so we sort of put that on hold, told them we'd get back to them. I went over to Fulham, or to West Ham, had the same sort of trial, a few sessions here and there, and the representative that the agent knew at West Ham came to our apartment and sat us down and said, look, if you are able to come back to England, we'd definitely be interested in signing him, and we see a lot of potential, and we think he could go on to do well for us. So just with the history that West Ham has of bringing through youth players, for us it was a no-brainer. We again talked as a family, told them we'd let them know. We went back, and later that year, actually, we had made the decision, this is something I want to do. This is my dream. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we decided to take it. So I was actually representing Canada in the Danon Nations Cup at the time. We were going to Madrid. That's where the finals were being held in the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium, and shortly after the tournament, me and my family flew to England, and my dad came with us for a little bit. And then after we'd gotten settled and whatnot, my dad had gone back for work, and my mom, sister, and brother moved with me. My brother wasn't a big fan of it. He moved back the following year. So it was me, my mom, and my sister for, I believe, 3.5 years. That was a big sort of transitioning period for us, always living together, being with each other, to our family being split on, two different sides of the world. That was really challenging for us. And it just shows the sacrifices my family were willing to make to make my dreams come true, which I'll always be grateful for. And it was hard for us at first. And eventually my sister had gotten to an age where she was about to begin school, and my parents felt that they wanted her to go to school in Canada. So my sister and mom ended up moving back, and from 15 I was in the residency there at West Ham. And sort of that's when I think my biggest transitioning period happened, was, when I was forced to be, obviously I was being taken care of, but I was, by myself. I wasn't with my immediate family anymore. And I think that's also when football started to change. In the younger ages, under 10s, 12s, 11s, it's more fun in games. You're still learning your craft, and, you're dedicated, you're in every day, but it's more, how can we make it fun for the kids? And I think once it hit that, 15, 16 years old, it's like, okay, they're getting to an age where it's, okay, how can they progress into the first team? Do we see that potential in them? And that's sort of where I think I learned the most on and off the pitch during those periods. I think once you become an apprentice and sign that scholarship contract, it's now your job to come in every day and be the best you can be, put in extra work, do your bits in the gym, do your bits off the pitch, on the pitch. What can you do? You have so many resources right in front of you, especially at a Premier League club, whether it be the analysis team, the gym, the coaches you have access to on the pitch. And even just the different technology that was evolving at the time. One thing that was big was Coach Logic. We used to, all our games and training sessions were recorded. We could clip things out, things that we had talked about with our mentors about whether this is something we want to improve, something we think we're really good at, something we think we're good at but could be better with slight tweaking. So that was sort of the stage when I realized, this is more than just going out there and playing. This is eventually going to be our job and our profession, and we need to be the best we can possibly be. And I think that's the biggest period where decisions are made. Eventually you get that decision whether you're going to get a scholarship contract. Fortunate for me, I was performing really well, and I was offered my scholarship 2 years early. So I signed a long-term deal during that period for me, and things were going really well and I was working towards achieving my goals. Shortly after my under, I believe, 15 or 14 year, new management had come in and things had sort of changed around in the club. And I was still doing well playing, but opportunities were starting to, become fewer. And I guess the new management just had different plans to who was there before. And I sort of, by the time I had reached under 18s, I realized I'd gotten to a point where, maybe I want to look at other options because I want to progress. I want to make it into a first team and, continue to pursue my goals and dreams. So I'd made the decision to, go and trial at other clubs and see what opportunities could arise. I went to Charlton, and I trained with them for a bit, played in a game. I did well. Unfortunately, things just didn't work out there. Then I had gone to Italy as well, actually. I was with Genoa for a little bit. And then the Toronto FC opportunity came up. And, I hadn't been back home. Obviously, Calgary for me is home, but just to be closer to family and, get an opportunity to play in an actual men's league, USL Championship at the time. And, sort of progress and pursue my dreams and be able to not get trapped in sort of that academy under 23 sort of system that works over in Europe. I feel that a lot of players, they end up staying there for years, and when maybe they had the ability or the potential to go and play elsewhere, whether it be on loan or you sign for a lower team to get minutes and get games. I think one thing I learned again along my journey is the amount you play is so crucial. As much football as you can possibly get, the better. You'll learn, you'll continue to improve, you'll adapt. The longer you're on the sidelines and not doing much, you're just falling behind ultimately. And I think my goal was, where can I go where I can get the most football? So I ended up flying back from London at the end of my under 18 season and going on trial, at Toronto FC, and trained with them for a bit, played in a few friendly games, and they ended up offering me a contract out there. And unfortunately, within my first preseason with the club, I tore some ligaments in my ankle, which was sort of another setback, especially after having sort of a rough ending at West Ham, to now finally think you've gotten your big break, and you then injure yourself. And unfortunately, I was out for a little while because I was playing on it, and I was sort of diagnosed wrong, and after some scans, I realized I had torn ligaments, and I was out for a couple months due to that. And then when I had come back fit from injury, actually the manager that had signed me, he had gotten an opportunity to coach back in Europe, and he had gone away for that. And the new management, again, that had come in, I guess had other plans. And I just, for some reason or another, to this day, I'm still sort of unsure what the reasoning was, but just opportunities were few and far between. I didn't get too much playing time. I think I played a total of like 15 minutes throughout the whole year. Granted, I was injured for some of it, for some reason or another, I wasn't able to get out there and, show what I was capable of doing. And due to that, I had signed 1 year with an option year. And at the end of the year, they decided to not take my option. So now I was sort of at a place where I was like, wow, had a rough last few years at West Ham, rough season with Toronto FC. Where do I go from here? I haven't played properly, and I haven't, there's no highlight tape, there's no footage. I haven't played in a little while here. Who's willing to, give me an opportunity? And I know in football that sometimes opportunities are, hard to come across. So for me, it was sort of a worrying period. I had also gone through some things with family that was a bit hard for me to handle at the time. And luckily, the CPL came around, and I think it was perfect timing for me and my career. Being from Calgary and playing for Foothills in my youth career, Tommy reached out to me, knowing that he was going to be the head coach and the GM of Cavalry, and he was actually in Toronto for some trials. I think they were sort of assessing some players out there, not just Cavalry, but some other clubs within the league. and he reached out, and I just told him about my journey and what I've had to experience so far, what stage of my career I'm at, what my goals are, what his goals are for the team. And we really aligned based on what we were both trying to achieve within the next couple of years or so. And I ended up flying back to Calgary, meeting up with my family, which was nice. I think to go home and be with family really helped with my whole headspace, as well as my football. I was able to feel at home but still work towards my goals, which was a really good feeling. My dad and I had sat down and had a dinner with Tommy, and we discussed my future, what his plans for me are and what his plans are for the team. And later on I ended up signing with Cavalry, and sort of I think this was the part of my journey where I was able to, I was lucky, I wasn't injured, I was fit, and I was home, I was with family, I was comfortable, and I was able to really showcase what I was capable of. If you look back at our season with Cavalry, at the beginning I thought it was, maybe this might be just like the other years, I'm not going to get an opportunity. At the very beginning, the spring season, we'd gone undefeated, so it was a really good side that I was playing in and competing for a spot in. And we'd gone undefeated, and we won the spring season, and I didn't play the first 10 games of the season, and I was worried, is this going to be just like West Ham or just like Toronto FC? And this is one thing I'll say about the CPL. It provides so many opportunities for young players. Growing up, we had to go abroad like I did, go to Europe or go to the States and play, or go to college and come back. There was never a league or something you could do at home and still chase your dreams. So I think the CPL coming into play, it's helped a lot of players massively, especially me, myself. And they've also incorporated this 1,000-minute rule. So under 21 players, you must have at least 3 on the roster, and those 3 players have to accumulate 1,000 minutes throughout the course of the season. And I think that rule's amazing because, one thing I've noticed in football is some managers, they don't necessarily want to trust young players. Their jobs are on the line and they're expected to perform. And, they're not going to risk their careers by playing someone that might not be ready or needs some time to get used to things. And I think with this rule, it allows young players to get an opportunity and be able to play at a high level. And it's a sink or swim. This is the moment you prepare for, and when you get the opportunity, you have to be ready to take it. And that's sort of where my mindset was throughout the season with Cavalry. It was like, okay, yep, I haven't had my chance yet, but when I do get that chance, I need to be ready. And I was also fortunate. I guess others were unfortunate. There was some injuries within our squad, and there was a few guys that picked up long-term injuries, and it opened up opportunities for me. And I made sure that, when the opportunity did come, I'd be ready, and I prepared as best I could for those opportunities and ended up playing well when the chances were given. And I think through my performances, I earned more opportunities as the season went on. And I was able to show, not just to my team and the coaching staff there, but other teams throughout the league and other teams watching that, I have potential and I'm capable of going on to achieving great things. And this is really where I'm meant to be, what I was meant to do. And I truly believe that this is my calling, and I made sure that I'd be prepared as possible to take advantage of these situations when they came around. And I had a really good second part of the year with Cavalry. I played quite a few games. I believe I got in just over 20 games towards the end of the season. We had a great year as a team, so to get games in a good team, it always puts your name in a good light. I was a part of the long list for the Canada Under-23s Olympic squad, and I hadn't been in the fold with Canada for quite a few years now. The last time I had represented them was under-18s while I was at West Ham in a friendly match against El Salvador. So to be recognized in that bracket again, it really showed me that my hard work was paying off, and that's that hard work sort of led me to the opportunity that I'm at now with Atletico Ottawa. I think to be recognized and contacted by a club that's owned by a club as massive as Atletico de Madrid, I think that's an amazing honor, something I was really grateful for. And I think the opportunities that Tommy and Cavalry provided me ultimately have gave me a chance to show what I was capable of and put my name out there for other clubs to see. And as soon as Ottawa contacted me, I was willing to hear what they had to say. Like I said, Atletico Madrid is a massive club in world football, the history they have. So to represent them in a way by association is amazing. And you know, I'm really looking forward to what we can achieve. Obviously, this season has been a challenging one so far, you know, with everything that's gone on in the world. But I think the league's been really transparent with us clubs and players. And we're all working towards, you know, how we can return back to playing. We've recently started training. Things are going well. And one thing that really stood out to me about Atletico Ottawa was, you know, their winning mentality. As soon as I was contacted by the club, the first thing we had in common was that I want to, you know, put my foot down and you know, really stand out this season, not just myself, but whatever team I'm playing in, to do the same and to be successful and win championships. I think that if you're going to be successful in any competitive sport, I think that your mentality has to be that you're there to win. And that's something that Atletico Ottawa and I had in common. And, you know, for me, it was a no-brainer at that point. And they believe in me. They've voiced that. And I'm really looking forward to, you know, what we can achieve this season. So that's pretty much my journey to pro so far. And I'm really looking forward to what the 2020 and beyond seasons can bring and where this game of football can take me. One thing I'd probably say the biggest thing I've learned throughout from the very beginning with my club teams in Calgary going on to where I am now in Ottawa is, you know, adversity. I don't have enough fingers on my hands to tell you how many times I've been told, you know, you're too skinny or you're too small, or you know, you need to get stronger, you need to do this, you need to do that, you're not working hard enough. Or, you know, there's always going to be, football's a game of opinions. There's always going to be someone that thinks you're good in one category but thinks you're bad in another, and there's always going to be doubt. And I think channeling yourself and having a good group of people around you and just that mindset that, you know, no matter what is thrown at me, I'm going to find a way to, you know, come out on top and be successful. And ultimately, I think that's what I learned I had to do, you know, the adversity I faced at West Ham, not being given an opportunity, Toronto FC, the same thing, and even at the beginning of my time with Cavalry, you know, struggling to find minutes. I could have easily given up, you know, having experienced sort of the same thing 3 times in a row, but I said, you know, I'm going to be ready. I know an opportunity is going to come. It's a long season, and I need to be ready to take it. And I feel like at Cavalry, that's what I did. My first opportunity came around in a Canadian Championship match. Had a good performance in the first leg, and in the second leg I got an assist, and I sort of was able to sort of gain momentum. You know, that's another thing. It's hard when you play here and then you don't play, and then it's hard to gain momentum and any sort of rhythm. And, you know, even though the odds weren't necessarily in my favor, I found a way to overcome and sort of achieve what I want to achieve. And I'm hoping to do the same at a very consistent basis here in Ottawa and have a successful year. And the goal is to win championships, and I think that's something we're very much capable of doing. So I'm looking forward to, you know, us returning. And yeah, that's my journey to pro thus far. Thanks for having me. And like I said again, subscribe and like. Thanks to Will for reaching out. I think this is great what you're doing. You know, getting a lot of players throughout North America to come together and sort of explain their journeys and what they've had to go through in order to get where they want to be. So yeah, thanks for having me, and subscribe and like.